Well, I'm pleased to be joined with author Jocelyn Green. Jocelyn, thank you so much for joining me today and participating in this. It's a pleasure for me to get to do this. So.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so as you said, my name is Jocelyn Green. I live in Iowa, Cedar Falls, Iowa, with my husband and 2 children. They are 12 and 15 years old, and I have been writing for a really long time. Just feel like I get to do my dream job. So.
Yeah, what got you interested in writing?
I've just always wanted to tell stories ever since I was a little kid. I went to college to get a degree in English. From there, I worked at a nonprofit on Capitol Hill, just doing like not very exciting writing, but you know, it has to be done, like newsletters and things like that. And then I married a Coast Guard officer, my husband, so we moved to Alaska. And since I was unemployed at that point, I decided to give freelance journalism a try. So just did magazine articles, website content, and that kind of thing. And from there, decided to try nonfiction. So because I was a military wife, I decided to put together a proposal for a devotional book for military wives. And that was published by Moody in 2008, Faith Deployed, Daily Encouragement for Military Wives.
How many other nonfiction books do you have?
Oh man, maybe 7 or 8.
Okay, and you have kind of one that's been fairly popular.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that one?
Sure. That one you're referring to is probably the 5 Love Languages Military Edition, which I co-wrote with Dr. Gary Chapman, and of course he sold millions of copies of the Love Languages book, and I was just really honored and privileged to be able to come alongside and address some of the unique challenges that a military marriage faces that a civilian marriage doesn't have, and kind of tweak and adapt the material using examples from other military couples.
Excellent. How did you get on his radar? You know,
we worked for the same publisher.
Okay.
So by that time, I had already written a couple of books for Moody, and when they decided to do a military edition book, they were looking for a co-writer, and I was already there, so they asked if I would like to do it, and I said, yes.
Please.
Yeah, please, let me pinch myself.
Yeah, and so you not only do nonfiction, you do fiction books. So
yeah.
Tell us about the fiction books that you do.
Sure. So I transitioned into writing historical fiction. Started off by doing a 4-book Civil War series because I still have a heart for military, even if it's military families from the 1800s. But since then, I've written a few books set in the 1700s. One of those took place during the 7 Years' War. One took place that would be Between Two Shores, and then A Refuge Assured took place right after the American Revolution. So still military theme, but now I'm writing a series set in Chicago that is not war-torn. It's like late 1800s, it covers the Great Fire, so we still have some hard times. Like I think that's my theme. Times of great change really interest me. So the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, Veiled in Smoke is the name of that book, and the second book in that series is Shadows of the White City, which is a real nice change of pace for me because there's no natural disaster and there's no war. It's just the World's Fair. But I still managed to put in plenty of conflict.
Sure. So what kind of faith journeys do you have your characters go through, and what kind of can we expect of your characters?
Great question. They all go on their individual faith journeys for sure, and it's not so much that they have zero relationship with Christ and then they have a conversion experience by the end. Most of them do already have a relationship with Jesus, but they go through a really hard experience, whether it's a battle in the Civil War or the Great Fire, or more personal, like an adopted daughter who now wants to find her birth mother and is kind of pulling away as a teenager from the woman who raised her. So my characters go through very individual struggles that I think in some way all of us can relate to. So even if there's a character who is running from the great fire. Not all of us can relate to that, but we can relate to the idea of starting over, of losing everything that you know and having to reinvent yourself or overcome a challenge or lose your confidence and your competency in whatever you think your expertise is, and then have to find it again or find something else. So even though it's specific to the historical time period, I'm always aware that readers today need to get something out of the books. So the lessons and the journeys that they experience are relevant to pretty much any generation.
And how do you come up with that situation, you know, that your character is going to go through?
It all comes through the research. So I spend about 3 times as much time researching the book than I do writing the book. And so I say that I'm not very creative because all my best ideas come from history. So like the specific experiences that characters go through, usually I find those through case studies or personal narratives or letters from the past. So
very, very interesting. You know, I always find it fascinating as I'm reading a book and going, how do you come up with dialogue? You know, that is something that is definitely not gifted in me. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's so interesting, you know. Does it just come to you?
No.
Or how do you, like...
I wish I had
hear
voices. I wish. I get asked that, and I wish. I think that would make my job so much easier. But I mean, I kind of have to become a little bit schizophrenic, right? Because I have to like really put myself in all the different characters' shoes. Like, how would they react? What would they say? And also keep in mind what the time period is,
right,
and only use words that were in use in that time period, which was a lot harder for The Mark of the King, which took place in 1720, than it is for the book set in the 1900s. But you know, I've read a book about how to write dialogue, and it really gave acting methods. So yeah, I mean, I get it wrong a lot of times, but that's the beauty of revisions. Yeah. It doesn't just come to me. I do have to work for it.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm glad. I have to work for a lot of things.
Yeah, yes.
So, super. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing, you know, your journey and your books. And it's always so fun for me to discover new authors. So thank you. I'm excited to look into your books.
Thank you. Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here. It's been fun.